In Xero, the information for your vendors and your customers and clients are all in one section, and it's called contacts. Now, in traditional accounting softwares, the vendors and the customers are obviously in separate lists. In Xero, it's all in one. Now, they are converted to, or they are allocated as a customer or a supplier as and when you do the relevant transaction. So for example, if you've created the contact and then you've created an invoice, a sales invoice for that contact, they become a customer. And similarly, if you create a contact and then you create a bill, they then become a supplier. You can also have employees as well, and you can have groups as well. Now, as with most functions within Xero, you can import and export the contact list onto a CSV template. The search function is also quite useful. So if I type bakery, it will show the contact bakery. Now, if you go to the contacts, it's quite a good place to go if you want to see all of the transactions for that specific contact and all of the activities that's happened. So for example, if I go to 7-Eleven, I can see I've raised an invoice. I can also see that there's a few notes that I've added. There's a quote that's been sent and an invoice that has also been approved. You can also add it to a group. You can merge it with another contact, and you can archive as well. You can add specific files to this contact. So if you wanted to, if you've got a process where whenever you add a new contact, there needs to be some sort of authorization or form that needs to be filled in, you can attach it here. And you can also edit as well. And also you can, instead of going to the business menu to add an invoice or bills, you can also add them here. So you can add sales invoices, credit notes, bills, quotes, purchase orders, etc. directly from a contact as well. How do I create a contact? So if I go to add contact, there's a number of information that you can add. Now the main bits of information is the contact name. That's quite important. You don't necessarily need to add an account number if you don't want to. You should add their first name and last name and also an email. So the very minimum is to add an email. And the reason why you'd want to add an email is because you can email out invoices and bills, purchase orders and quotes from Xero directly. You then can enter the phone number or website, Skype name, the address. You then can enter certain financial details. So with sales settings, what you can do is you can have, do I want to enter the amounts with no VAT, with tax inclusive or exclusive? You can enter a default account and a default region if you wanted to do as tracking. You can then enter a tax ID number. So in some jurisdictions, you need to have the VAT number on the invoice. So this is where you would add it. So then Xero can then pick it up there. Again, there may be some instances where you need to add the business registration number. So here you can add it here. Here you can see the credit limit amount. So what this means is you can add a credit limit to a client, and what that means is you would now be able to run a report where you can see what is my credit limit by my customer. You can add a default sales discount. You can add a currency. You can also add their bank account, and then you can select a default invoice theme if you have for them. And then you can enter the bill due dates and invoice due dates. So what this does is whenever you enter the invoice or the bill, instead of you having to enter the due date manually, it will automatically pre-populate it for you so long as you enter it here. And then you've got the Xero network key. Now this is an advanced feature, but just very briefly, what I will mention is that if you've got 2 or more Xero entities and you're invoicing between them, if you enter the Xero network key, whenever you invoice or create a bill between your own Xero entities, you can send it to the other Xero entity, and the other Xero entity will then create the corresponding transaction. So if you're invoicing another Xero entity, the other entity will create a bill automatically, which saves you time in keying information more than once. Select save, and then your contact is created.